Hello, this is Mr. Oman. We're going to be working on the OnShape drawings, numbers 1 through 19 today. You feel free to follow along with me and draw and pause the video as you need to keep up. All right, here's the final drawings, the final picture of what we're going to be making. There's 19 items at the end. We'll line them up like this. We'll be following these directions right here. You're welcome to download them. Here's a preview of them. You'll see a 3D object, some top, front, and right views. And you keep scrolling, you can see all the problems we're gonna work on here. It might be most helpful to download them and get them showing in a larger screen view like this. The first problem starts on page 2, and you'll have to hit the rotate button up here to get it to turn upright for you. Okay. All right. I've logged into OnShape, shakopee.onshape.com. I've used my Google account. And here we go. I'm going to start by hitting the Create button, select Document, and let's title this your last name, not my last name, and numbers 1 through 19. Right there. You can hit the Create button, and your file should be titled right up here in the upper left-hand corner. All right, our first problem here looks like this. All right, I see that we're going to be drawing this front side view, the shaded view, okay, and then we'll cut out the step right here. I will be using the front view to help me, so therefore I'm going to press the sketch button, and I'm going to sketch on the front plane right there, so I have to select that in order to draw. You can hit the word front here and look at it straight on, that would be helpful. Okay, when I draw things, I generally just sketch them. I don't actually worry about measurements right away. So I selected the rectangle tool. I'm going to click on the origin, which is 0, 0. Just draw a rectangle about this big. Notice the numbers are not the correct sizes. And here's the step cutout. Right here, again, these measurements aren't right at this time either. Now that we have it sketched and it's looking sort of like our answer right here, we do have to get these measurements to be the right size. So our box is 3 inches long and it's 1 inch tall, and our step is 1/4 inch down and 1 inch wide. Okay, so follow me on this. You will be using the dimension tool a lot right here. So I'm going to click that button. I could pick either the top edge or the bottom edge. Left click right on it, slide down, left click again. And I am typing on my keyboard the number 3 and pressing the Enter key. And so that is actually 3 inches long now. Pick either the right or the left edge. Again, click on it, slide over, set it down, and this is 1 inch tall, so 1 Enter on your keyboard. So now our outside rectangle is the correct size. Okay, now for the cutout. The cutout is going to be 1 inch wide, so 1 Enter. And the height of it is going to be 1/4 inch, 0.25. Enter. So now we have our rectangles at the correct size, the correct dimensions. We're done sketching, so let's hit the Finish Sketch green arrow right there. And I'm going to press the upper right corner of the front view cube up here to turn it. So there's everything I've done. I'm zooming in with the wheel of my mouse right now. And our final step is to extrude. Extrude is right next to sketch. It will extrude 1 inch for us if we don't change that. We are going to be extruding, looks like 2 inches. So I'm going to pick this shape right in the middle of it. So that's a left click. And I'm going to type in depth right here. I'm going to type 2 Enter on the keyboard. And now that's done. And I'm going to hit the green check mark there. So over in your history, you can see we have our original sketch, and that's tied to the extrusion right there. That is the end of number 1. Okay, to move on to number 2, do not start a new file. Let's go down here to the lower left corner, click the plus symbol, and let's create a new part studio. Okay, new part studio is like adding another tab down here. Okay, and Part Studio 2 is going to be problem 2 for you. Okay, so let's scroll down. All right, in problem number 2, I'm going to treat this as 2 separate problems. I'm going to draw the lower part and then the upper part. I'm not going to try to do them both at the same time on this problem. So we'll head back. All right, I'm going to hit the sketch button. Problem 2 is laying down on the table, so I'm going to use the top view this time. I'm not going to draw the front view. I could do the front view, but I would prefer to do it this way. So I'm going to pick top, rectangle again, click the origin, draw some size of a rectangle, and our size, our actual size, is 3 inches long by 2 inches wide. So 3 by 2 is what we're going for. So I'm going to hit dimension. Pick one of your ends here. This is 2 inches wide. To enter, and click either the right or left side. And this is 3, enter. Right there. So hit the finish sketch button, the green check mark. And like before, we're going to hit extrude. Pick the middle of your shape. And this thing is 1 inch tall. So 1 is already picked. I don't need to change anything unless it said something else for you, but 1 is correct already, so I just hit the check mark. Okay, so the lower part is done. Okay, now for the upper part, this little chunk in the middle, you'll see it's centered right in the middle. It's 0.75 inch from all the edges, right there. So if it doesn't tell you how far it is from an edge, you can assume it's the same all the way around according to this measurement. If they labeled all of them, it would be a big mess here. So sometimes you have to make assumptions. All right, so we're going to hit sketch again. So we're going to have sketch 2 show up in your history over here. It says select a sketch plane. So I'm going to pick this top surface, zoom in a little bit, and draw another rectangle. Again, I'm just going to guess right away. This is clearly not the right size, but I'm going to use the dimension tool to fix it. So hit dimension, and you'll see on the directions it's 0.75 from the left side. In order to locate something, you have to measure it twice. So I'm going to pick here and here. So I pick both of those lines. And a third click is setting it down. And I'm going to type 0.75. All right, so that spacing is right. So these are clearly not correct over here. I'm going to do another one from the bottom edge. This is also 0.75. Okay, back to the directions. It's 0.5 wide and 1.5 long. So remember those two numbers, 0.5 and 1.5. So this edge right here is 0.5. I'm just typing in the numbers that the directions say here. And here. So that was 2 clicks. Here's a third click to set it down. This is 1.5 and enter. Right there. So that thing should be exactly in the middle of this whole surface. Hit the check mark. It should be the right size. And you can probably guess that we hit extrude now that we're done sketching. And we pull this thing up. Okay, and our height, we do need to look that up. It's down here, 0.5 is the height. So change depth to be 0.5. Right there, and the check mark to finish it. All right, so there it is. Problem number 2 is done. Right there. Let's move on to part 3. So hit the plus symbol down here, create Part Studio. Okay, our next problem. All right, is not that much different than the previous ones. It's got 2 cutouts. All right, I'm going to draw one big rectangle, and then I'm going to cut out these 2 steps that you see right here. So a little bit more work than the previous ones, but not by much. So I'm going to remember this thing is 3.5 inches long, and the height, if I add these 2 up, is ½ inch plus ½ inch is 1 inch. So 3.5 by 1 is the first rectangle I'm going to draw. So I'm going to hit sketch. Okay, this thing is standing up in the front view. Grab the rectangle tool, start at the origin, draw a big rectangle. Okay, draw another rectangle over here and another one down here, something like this. Okay, those are clearly not correct yet. And I turned it so I'm looking straight on now. All right, let's get some dimensions fixed up. So we said earlier that this thing is 3.5 long. So 3.5 enter, and the height is going to be 1 enter. Right there. So now all we have to do is fix up these cutouts right here. So let's do the upper right one first. So this thing is a 1/2 inch tall and 1.5 inches long. So I'm going to click on this. This is 1.5 and it's 0.5. Okay, so that's a sketch right there. And the other one, the lower left, this is 0.38 tall and 0.88 long. So there's some new numbers you remember, 0.38 and 0.88. So 0.38 is the vertical up and down one, 0.38, enter, and 0.88 is left to right. Okay, so I'm done with that entire sketch. So I'm going to press the green check mark. There it is, and all I got to do is extrude this middle section. Extrude, pick the middle section. I don't know my distance yet, so how far does this pull out? It's 1.5 this way, so that's how long the extrusion is, 1.5. So I do have to type that in, 1.5, enter. And there's the check mark. All right, so part number 3 is done. Moving on to 4. Create a new part studio. Number 4. Again, now this time we're going to draw an L shape. In other words, we're going to draw this picture as one sketch, and then we're going to cut out this notch right here in the second sketch. Okay, so I see 2 sketches happening, an L and then the cutout. And I'll show you how to remove things if you don't know how to do that. So far we have not cut any holes yet. All right, so I'm going to sketch the L shape. I'm going to do it on the front view because I see it in the front view, which is this one. Okay, it is 2.25 tall and 3.25 long. It's a little harder numbers, remember. So 2.25 by 3.25. Okay, here we go. Front view, rectangle. Oops, I missed my origin. Let me try that again. Get right on the dot there so it locks it in. Okay, draw a big rectangle. Use the dimension tool. This is 3.25 left to right and 2.25. Okay, and then we have another rectangle. Let's draw this in right here. You can see our L shape is starting to show up here. Okay, let's go get those measurements. Okay, I know that this thing is 0.75 right here and 1.5. So 0.75 is the top of the L. 1.5 is how deep the L is. So let's measure from this line to this line. Right there. What did I say that was? 0.75. 0.75, enter. Right there. And this line by itself is 1.5. Okay, so now we've got the L shape correct. And let's hit the check mark. Now notice we're not doing the cutout here yet. That's the second problem we got to deal with. Let's extrude the L only. Okay, and the L is right here. It's 2 inches deep. So type in the number 2 and enter. Okay, so we have the L shape working now. Okay, and lastly we need to cut out a second sketch right out of this area. So I'm going to sketch, I'm going to do it right on this top surface. So select a sketch plane, that is this area. Right there, I'm going to hit the top view to look down on it. Let's draw ourselves a rectangle. like this for the cutout. Now for the dimensions, this thing is 0.75 by 1.25. So dimension 0.75 and 1.25. Okay, and finish your sketch with the green check mark. And there it is. And now we just need to extrude it. Pick that rectangle. Now at this point we don't want to add material. This would be a mistake if we leave this go. We need to go into our settings over here and select the remove option right there. And if it didn't go all the way through, you can pull on this arrow. So we need it to punch all the way through, or you can type a distance. But anyways, make sure it cuts all the way through before you hit the check mark. And there it is. Problem number 4 is all done. All right, let's go on to number 5 by starting a new part studio. Okay, number 5. This one has a little bit more going on it. All right, we're going to be drawing, I think I'll go to the right side. I'll draw a big old rectangle right here, just the outline of it, and I'll cut this out. Then we'll come back and add this rectangle, this cutout right here is a separate sketch, and then on the third sketch will be the rectangular hole right there. So let's do this one in three separate sketches. All right, so it'll be 5 inches tall by 1.13 wide. Let's see if I can remember that. All right, here we go. So let's go to the right side view for this plane. And I'll hit the word right over here. Okay, it's going to be a tall, skinny rectangle. And I already forgot what I said. 5 inches tall by 1.13. So 5, enter for your dimension. 1.13 that way. Okay, let's add a rectangle here in the middle. So start up here on this top edge and draw a rectangle, something like this. Clearly it's not right yet. Okay, our directions will tell us, all right, 0.38 is the width, and it says 3 times. So I'd assume that's 1, 2, and 3, and then it's 1.5 inches long. So let's do that one together. All right, so let's measure from left edge to, oops, gotta turn on dimension. Left edge to the rectangle is 0.38. Enter. It's 0.38 wide, and we'll probably get an error if I measure this last one, but let's do it anyways. 0.38. Yes, it gives me an error. So this last one is not necessary because we already have 1.13 and these first two. This last one's not necessary. I'm going to hit Control Z. Control Z is undo, or you can hit your undo arrow up here in the upper left-hand corner. All right, so just those first 2 measurements are needed. Now for the vertical dimension, this thing is 1.5 tall, right there. Okay, so you can finish that sketch. There it is, and let's extrude that shape. And the distance is right here, 1.5. Type in 1.5 for your depth. Just like that. Okay, so we have our first sketch and first extrusion done. Okay, our next sketch, sketch 2, click the sketch button, click right on this face right here. And we're going to draw a rectangle that reaches from somewhere on this left edge. Make sure it touches the right edge right there. Okay, don't worry about how big it is, but just make sure that it reaches both edges. Okay, we'll fix it with our dimension tool. All right, so that rectangle right there that we're about to cut out is 0.63 away from the end, and it's 1.75 tall. So from this bottom edge to that bottom edge, 0.63. Enter. And from the bottom edge of the rectangle to its top edge, we said was 1.75. Enter. Right there. Hit the check mark. Sketch 2 is already done, and you can extrude that shape. This time we're going to remove it, so we have to cut that out. We're not going all the way through this time. We are only going, it looks like 0.25 deep. Right there. So type in 0.25 and hit the green check mark. Okay, so that's sketch 2. All right, one more sketch to go. We have a big rectangular hole to go on this one. Hit the sketch button. Pick this surface now. Draw another rectangle. And as you can guess, we are going to dimension that. All right, our dimensions. Okay, this thing is 0.38 from the top edge, and you can assume the bottom edge, and 0.25 from the right and left edges. It doesn't really matter if I type in 0.63 or not here, but if we get all the spacing all the way around the outsides, it will just work out. So once again, so 0.25 on the left and right edge. So let's go from here to here. 0.25, enter, and on the right side, click those two edges. 0.25 again. Okay, so we have it centered from left to right, and now vertically, up and down, the bottom edge is 0.38, and the top edge, I'm going to tilt this so I can see up in there, and 0.38 again. And we will extrude and remove that shape all the way through our object. Hit the green check mark, and problem number 5 is entirely done. All right, now that number 5 is done, let's hit the new Part Studio button. Start a new tab. All right, we're rolling here. Problem 6. All right, problem 6, we are drawing what's called a half section. Okay, you could draw 3 circles and do this, but this is the slow way. Or I should say 4 circles. All right, we're going to draw half of this shape, and we're going to use the revolve tool to spin it around an axis. Okay, so I'm showing you the revolve tool on this problem. All right, I am going to start by drawing a line that's 3.25 up, 0.5 over, down, over, 1.5. It doesn't tell me the size of these, but you can assume these numbers match over here if they don't tell you, and back down. So 3.25 is the first one. All right, so I'm going to hit sketch. Let's do this in the front view. Let's start at the origin. This time we're using the line tool, not rectangle. Start right at the origin. Okay, draw up, over, down, over, back up. Make sure these line up. Right there, over, down. Make sure it's straight before you click here, and back to the beginning, right there. So there's our shape. Still needs to be dimensioned. So I'm going to hit the dimension tool, click on this line. This is 3.25. Okay, this is 0.5. This is also 0.5. This is 1.5. Okay. This one is already dimensioned because it's been done over here, and these line up. So we can skip that one. We can go here. This is 0.5. And this one's already done right there, and this one should be done. If you measure either one of these, you'll get an error message because they're already taken care of elsewhere. Okay, so we can assume that's good. All you gotta do is hit the green check mark to finish the sketch. Let's tilt our drawing a little bit, and instead of hitting extrude, we're going to hit revolve. So press the revolve button. And you have to pay attention to what they're asking for. It says select your face or sketch regions. This is a sketch region, so pick that right in the middle. Okay, and it looks like something's wrong. There's nothing wrong here. It needs you to pick the axis. The axis is like the axle of a car where a wheel spins around the axle. So click right on this red box, and I need you to pick the very bottom line. That is the axle right there, or axis as they call it. All right, and it's spun that region around the axis, and all you have to do is hit the green check mark right there. So the main body of work is done on this one. We just need to cut one final hole through the middle, and that's a 1.13 circle. So let's do one more sketch here. Pick the big circular face, turn it, and use the circle tool this time. And let's start right at the center. And dimension is going to be 1.13. That's 1 1/8 inch. That's what that equates to. And hit the check mark there. And finally, you can extrude and remove that, and you can drag this all the way through. So it cuts a hole all the way. All right, and there is your object. If you don't like these planes showing up, you can go over here and turn off the eyeballs right there to get these to hide for you. All right, so there is problem number 6. Okay, on to number 7. All right, number 7, we're going to draw the lower base, and then we're going to draw this upper triangle. Okay, the lower base is 1.5 inches one direction by 3 in the other direction. So 3 by 1.5 is where we'll start this one. So start a sketch. Let's do this in the top view because it's laying down on the table. Grab a rectangle again and dimension this to be 3 by 1.5. Okay, and hit finish. Okay, so you're done with that sketch for now. Let's extrude that. And that extrudes up. Looks like this thing is 0.38 tall. 0.38 right there. Okay, so on number 7 here, we're going to draw the upper part of our problem, this V-shaped cutout. I'm going to draw a rectangle on the top. We'll extrude that up, and then we'll cut out the V last. So notice the left and right ends are a little wider than the top and bottom edges right here. So I see 0.5 being the spacing on the ends, and it looks like 0.25 is the spacing above and below. So I'm going to sketch on this plane, the top plane, a rectangle. Looks about like this. Dimension, and again, top and bottom are narrower, so that one is the 0.25. So zoom in there, pick the two edges, type 0.25, enter, and 0.25 for the bottom spacing as well. And the right and left ends, these are 0.5. So they should look a little bigger. And I hit the check mark on that. Okay, to finish the sketch, okay, we're going to be extruding this thing up a 1.25. That in for your depth, 1.25, enter. Okay, looks good, and finish that sketch. Okay, so sketch 2 over here is done, and extrusion 2, our third and final sketch. I'm going to put the V-shape cutout right here on this front face, like this. And we are going to draw from the upper left corner. This will be a 45-degree line. We'll fix that in a moment. Down here, make sure it goes level. right there and up to this corner right there. Okay, it'd be a great idea if we turn it to the straight front view. Okay, now here's a new dimension you haven't seen yet. This is a 45-degree angle. If you pick on two lines, this one and this one, it'll know to pick an angular dimension. There's the third click was to set it down, and now I'm typing 45, enter on the keyboard, and it fixes that. And same with over here, 45. Okay, and let's see what we have left to do here. This bottom line is 0.3. Hopefully this doesn't give us trouble here. 0.3, enter, and it worked. Okay, so there you go. There's your 3 dimensions. You don't even need to measure how long these lines are. They should just be right. 1.2. Yep, they're already 1.2 here. Okay, and we'll finish the sketch, and we'll extrude and remove the V shape. Remove all the way through, and check mark. All right, and our final step here to finishing off number 7, we need to do a fillet to round over the corners of this base piece. So we're not in a sketch for this. Fillet is right here. Click that button. All right, and your fillet dimension for number 7 is 0.125, so it's a really small round over that we're doing. So change radius to be 0.125, and all you got to do is just click on these 4 top edges and hit the green check mark right there. Okay, number 7 is all done. Okay, number 8 looks like kind of a window in a way. All right, we're going to draw a 3x2 rectangle, and then we're going to add this half circle on top. Looks like we'll be offsetting some lines. I'll show you how to do that. And our extrusion is 0.75 over here. All right, let's sketch in the front view. Draw yourself a 3x2 rectangle from the origin. Three and 2. Okay, well, you're still in that same sketch. Let's go up here. You could either use the circle, that could work, or we can do a 3-point arc. That might work for you. Let's try a 3-point arc for this one. So we're going to start on the left corner, then pick the right corner, and we need to pull this thing up. It should kind of click when you get to the spot there. That's the appropriate size. It should be 1.5. Okay, and if you had to use the dimension tool to fix that, that's fine, but mine just clicked. I didn't need to dimension that. All right, and inside here, we're going to use the offset tool. Okay, it looks like parallel lines here. Look for that button, offset. And how big is our offset? Looks like it's a 1/2 inch. Yeah, the difference between 1.5 and 1 is a 1/2 inch. So it looks like everything is a 1/2 inch. So let's pick the rectangle first. Flip that around and let's type in 0.5. I had to double click right on the number to get it to select 0.5. Let's click on this line, over here, and finally the arc. Ooh, it gave me some trouble. It can only offset a single chain once. Okay, let's try that again. Undo. All right, offset. So this line, 5, this one, and this one. Apparently it only lets me do one shape at a time. So I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so that worked. Okay, and now I'm going to go back, turn on offset again. Let's do this upper section. Flip that around, change it to 0.5. Right there. And let's see, I'm pretty sure that's the end. Yep, we don't need to offset that inner line at all. And there's the check mark. Okay, so we are done with our sketch 1, and now we're ready to extrude it. Extrude, pick the upper arc and pick the window. Right there, looks good. And I'm pretty sure we're going 0.75. Yep, so we have to change that number, the depth, to be 0.75. And the check mark. All right, so problem number 8 is done right there. Okay, new part studio number 9. Okay, I see this one as, we could do it either as 2 or 3 problems. I'm going to start with this rectangle right here, and I'll come back and add the step later. So let's take care of the main shape and this outer step second. All right, so 2.5 by 1.75 is our rectangular size. So sketch, pick your front plane, rectangle, origin, 2.5 by 1.75. 2.5, enter, by 1.75. Okay, there's our rectangle size. Grab your 3-point arc tool, pick on the upper edge somewhere up here, pick over in the right edge, and go until it clicks for you. Right there. And now let's dimension this and fix it. So we have a 1/2 inch spacing on the sides, and our radius is 0.75. All right, so let's measure from this line to the end of the arc. Make sure you pick this dot right here. So it measures between those. And I said 0.5, so we'll type 0.5 in. It moves it over. And our radius, picked on the arc, it just knows it's going to be a radius when I pick on the arc, and 0.75 is my number. Okay, and so that should be all done. Finish your sketch, and let's extrude that. Our extrusion appears to be 1.25 minus 0.25, so that's 1 inch up there. It doesn't directly tell you that, but if you do the math here, you can figure that out. So, and 1 is already picked. Hit the green check mark. So our first sketch is done. Now we just got to add that little step at the bottom. So add a sketch here. A sketch on the front plane. Rectangle tool. Pick one of the lower corners to start in. Go over to the far opposite edge somewhere. And let's dimension this thing. So by pulling it from corner to edge, you already did 2.5. Whether you realize that or not. We only need to dimension 0.5 as the vertical. Up and down. 0.5, enter. And finish sketch. And we're going to be extruding that out 0.25, it says. Okay, looks like problem number 9 is done. On to number 10. Number 10 looks like this might be easier than the one we just did. It's just one sketch. There's a few things going on here, but it's only a one sketch, one extrusion problem. 3 wide, 1/2 inch tall. Let's see. We'll draw a couple of lines. We'll draw another rectangle right here, 0.5. Here to here is 0.7, be 1.5. A radius is from outer edge to the middle, but we're talking edge to edge, so it's double this number, so 1.5. Okay, and then a few circles, marks. Yeah, there's a few things going on here we got to take care of. So let's get our first rectangle, 3 by 1/2 inch. So let's hit sketch, front view. Again, if you miss like I just did, make sure you hit that origin button. Things just tend to go a little better if you do that. And this is a 3 inch dimension by 1/2 inch. There. Okay, so we have the lower rectangle. Now we're going to make another box coming up here. So again, 1.5 by half. So somewhere up here on the top edge, start a rectangle. Don't worry about how big it is, just make sure it's connected to this top edge. And let's dimension that. This is 0.75 on both sides. Here to here, 0.75. And it is a 1/2 inch tall to right here. Okay, and finally, we are going to draw either a circle or an arc. It's up to you. I'll go 3-point arc. Pick the left corner, right corner, and get it to click into place. Should be 0.75 is your radius there. Okay, and lastly, we have a circle to draw. That circle starts at the center of this line. And let's dimension that. Circles are dimensioned in diameter, which is the distance across. That's going to be 0.75. So this one's 7.5 across. This bigger one is 1.5 inches across. Right there. Okay, so there's all of our two-dimensional geometry. Finish your sketch, and let's extrude this thing. And let's pick 3 different surfaces here, like that. And it needs to go 1.75 for your depth. And hit the check mark. Okay, there's number 10. That one is done. On to number 11. All right, number 11, 12, 13, and 14. These are all individual parts. And when we get to number 15, we're going to put them all together in an assembly. Okay, so when we get to 15, there's nothing to draw. You just take all the previous 4 parts, and we're going to assemble them together in one file. Okay, so this is us starting a new phase here, a new chapter of our drawings. All right, let's draw our rectangles, and this time let's not be too excited to do circles and remove holes. I'm going to show you a different way to draw holes so they have these slanted countersunk tops on them. The one in the middle does not have a countersunk, so you could draw a circle for that one. But make sure you watch me closely for the 4 outer countersunk holes. They'll be slightly different. All right, we need a 3 by 3 square and a 0.25 diameter circle in the middle. All right, here we go. Let's sketch using the top view, because this one lays down on our table. So here comes our 3 by 3 rectangle. And a circle in the center. Okay, if you turn on the circle tool and just kind of hover over at the middle of the edge, you'll see a guide pops up. There's the middle of that. And if you wander here, I'm not clicking anything, I'm just kind of hovering. And I'm trying to get these to turn on and help me to find the center. Right there. Okay, so that, I know that is the middle without even measuring it. If you can't find that out, you're able to use the dimension tool, but that's the shortcut way to do it. Okay, and this thing is 0.25. So that should be dead center if all goes well. Okay, finish your sketch. And let's extrude this thing up 0.63. And pick your extrusion, type 0.63. And you can finish that sketch. Okay, the final sketch for the countersunk holes, you'll need to sketch on the top plane. All right, this time, instead of drawing circles, we are looking for the point tool. Okay, later on, the hole tool will be looking for different points. These are the center points of these holes that are coming up. So follow me here. We're going to put 4 points. All right, one up here in the upper left region, just somewhere in this area is fine. Okay, let the dash guidelines guide you. And get these 4 lined up with each other. Make sure that these guidelines pop up. All right, so they're approximately right. Okay, now we have to get them in the exact right location. So our dimension tool, all right, let's measure from the top edge to this point. Set that down and type in 0.63, enter. And from the left edge, 0.63, enter. So I got these moving. Okay, and I don't need to measure this one from left to right. However, it does need to know how far to measure up and down vertically. So bottom edge to here, 0.63. That one's fixed. And let's measure from this edge over here, 0.63 on the right side. Okay, so everything should be locked in. They're all 0.63, or that's 5/8 of an inch away from the edges. Okay, and you can finish that sketch. So sketch 2 only has 4 points on it. You can tilt it into 3D. And we are going to use the hole tool to finish this problem by selecting all 4 of those center points. Let's get these measurements corrected. So the diameter up here is 0.38. Down here, the actual countersink is 0.5. So 0.38 by 0.5. So you should have holes that look similar to this right here. And if you have that, you can hit the green check mark to finish that. And it should look like the problem. All right, so number 11 is done. All right, looks like number 11 is done here, so let's go on to number 12. All right, number 12, this might be the quickest one on the whole assignment here. We have a 2x2 square with a 1-inch diameter hole, 1/2-inch extrusion. Okay, let's sketch using the top plane. Grab the rectangle tool. And dimension this to be 2 by 2. And draw yourself a circle right in the dead center. So find the middle of the edges. Hover over those. Get those 2 dashed lines to show up once they're there. You can click, draw a circle, and our center circle is 1 inch in diameter. So dimension that. 1. Finish your sketch and extrude that up 1/2 inch. Okay, and finish your sketch. Okay, number 12 is done. On to 13. 13. Okay, we're going to do another revolution, or we're going to revolve our shape. So I'm going to draw a side view over here. I'm going to start in the top. I'm going to go 1/2 inch this way, 1/2 inch down, 0.13 in, 1/3 down, 1/3 over, inch down. And we'll draw exactly half of this, and we'll spin it around, and it'll be done. So it's kind of a round revolution that we're doing here. So let's do this in the front view so it stands up. Let's sketch, turn your view. Okay, grab the line tool. And how tall is this thing? This all adds up to be 2.25 tall. So let's draw a line straight up, straight over. I guess it didn't matter if I knew what that measurement was right at that moment. I'm coming back to it. Draw a shape that looks about like this. Make sure these are all straight and they're all lined up with each other. Okay, so you have a closed shape. And let's dimension. All right, we said this vertical side is 2.25. Okay, this thing is a 1/2 inch. Another half, and then it's going to be 0.13 in this small region. 0.13, 0.13. And I'm guessing we don't need to do this one, but maybe we do. Nope, undo. So you can skip that one, it's already taken care of up here. And this last one in this region is 1 inch. This is 0.38. And I believe this is 0.63. Nope, looks like it does not need that one for me. I've already taken care of it. And we probably don't need this bottom one, but let's make sure. Yeah, 0.13. Yep, I'm going to get an error. Yep, undo. Okay, so these last two lines do not need measurements, according to what we saw. You can finish your sketch, tilt it, and revolve it. Pick your region, click on the red axis option, and pick this left edge. Right there, we'll spin that around, and number 13 is done at that point, right there. Okay, on to 14. Okay, 14 is a C shape with a 90-degree cutout here. Looks like we'll draw two circles, or two arcs, excuse me, close off the ends, and extrude at 0.13. So let's do this in the top view, so it's lays down on the table. You could use either circle or 3-point arc, I believe would work. Let's just do circle, I think that'll be easiest. Circle, draw two circles, something like this. 0.5 is the radius, but circles are measured in diameter, so we'll need to double these numbers. So this will be 1, and this inner one will be 3/8, it'll be 3/4. So 1 and 0.75 are the numbers that should work here. So change this one to be 1, and this one to be 0.75. Okay, all you got to do is use the line tool to close this end off right here, from that corner to there. I'm going to hit the escape key, ESC, in the upper left corner to turn the line off, and then I got to turn it back on again so I can draw down here. Alright, and I'm going to hit escape again to turn off the line tool. Alright, you can see our shape is starting to show up here. Hit the green check mark to finish your sketch, and extrude that C shape, and only extrude at 0.13. Enter. Okay, and looks like number 14 is done. Now on to 15. So for 15, do not start a new part studio. All right, we are going to be starting a new assembly. So hit create assembly. Okay, it's possible you have two assemblies showing here. We're in assembly 2 on my screen. Okay, notice there's no planes here. We are simply going to be inserting numbers. Let's see. We need 114. Set that in here. 113. Set that down somewhere. 112. And one number 11. Okay, so you inserted one of each right there, and you can hit finish. Okay, and we are going to be assembling these all together. Oops, I made a mistake. You need two of the rectangular pieces here. Let's go back and get that. We need one more copy of number 12. So you need two of those. So my mistake. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to be using the Fasten Mate tool. Okay, Fasten Mate is when you stick something together and it does not need to rotate. It's almost like you're gluing it together. So I'm going to hit Fasten Mate, and I'm going to stick this post, the very bottom center of the post, into the bottom center of this piece over here. Okay, and if yours showed up like this, you just need to flip it over with the arrow. So it's asking which one of these do you want. Okay, you could spin it around if you had to with the other button. I'm just going to hit the green check mark. Okay, so these two are now fastened together. All right, if you grab one, they both come with because they're glued. Okay, we're going to switch from fasten to be revolute mate. Revolute is kind of the same thing, except it'll allow the objects to spin on each other. So let's revolute mate. Okay, pick the center hole and pick the bottom center of this one. And right now it's inside. We're going to flip it over so it sits up. So pick whichever one of these is correct for you and hit the check mark. Okay, this should allow it to spin here in a moment. Let's do the same thing for this one. Center. Pick the center of this one. Oh, let me try that again. That didn't cooperate. Revolute. Pick the middle of that hole to the middle of this one. Make sure you're picking this circle right here. And flip it until it works. Hit the check mark. And finally, the last piece, you're still on revolute. Pick this middle inside edge and stick it to this. You have to zoom in and get to this middle circle. Flip it around until it looks right, and you hit the check mark. Now, a moment ago, I just told you that these things should spin, but they're not spinning yet. Okay, the final step to finish this thing off. Okay, you have to pick one of your parts over here in your history, and you have to lock it in space. It's called fixing it. I'm going to pick this bottom part if I can find it here. Which one is it? For me, it's this one right here. It took me a moment to find it. I'm going to use my mouse, and I'm going to use the right mouse button to right click on that part, and I'm going to left click on the word fix. And you should see a fix symbol showed up next to it. So this thing is locked in space, so it can't go anywhere. However, the revolute parts should be able to spin. So try spinning those around on there. All right, and you can just leave them sitting like this when you're done, so I can see them. All right, and that number 15 is done. So if you want to rename it, I'm going to right-click on Assembly 2, pick Rename, and just say 15. Enter right there. So there's 15. Okay. All right, so let's start another Part Studio, and let's go on to number 16. And I'm going to have to rename this one 16. All right, number 16 is a box with a hole in it. All right, I think you can handle this one at this point with all the practice you've had. It's 3 by 1.75 by 1.75, and we'll be cutting holes in it. All right, let's get a box drawn. So sketch, front. All right, let's draw on the front view. rectangle, dimension that 3 by 1.75. And let's draw another rectangle in the middle. Okay, and all these edges, these are all 0.38 all the way around. So let's dimension that 4 times 0.38, 0.38, both lines, setting it down, 0.38, and again 0.38. Okay, let's extrude that 1.75. Okay, and let's continue sketching on the top rectangle. These are all 0.38 again, so you don't need to know very many measurements to do this one. 0.38. And you can extrude and remove, and make sure you pull the arrow all the way down through the bottom so it cuts out the bottom surface as well. That'll save you some time. And finally sketch on the ends. And we will dimension the top edge 0.38. Four times. And lastly, extrude it one more time from end to end. And that is the end of number 16. Okay, on to 17. Rename your part. Right click, rename 17. Right there. And number 17. All right, this is not all that new for you. It's starting to use some of the skills that you've already attained from earlier problems. So I see this being done in two sketches: the lower section involving the arcs and the circles, and then the upper sketch will have these two chunks added on right there. So I'm going to start by drawing a 1.75 by 2.9 rectangle in the top view. So left to right, 1.75, up and down vertically 1.9. I'm sorry, 2.9, my mistake. Let's try that again. 2.9. There we go. Don't finish your sketch yet. Add on a 3-point arc. Let it click. All right, so that radius should already be taken care of, and then we have a circle in the center. It's a diameter of 0.5, so let's add that all in. So we're all still in sketch 1 here. Dimension your circle to be diameter 0.5. And you can finish that. And we are extruding that up, looks like a 1/2 inch. And our other sketch, we're going to sketch it up here in this upper plane. Draw a rectangle that reaches from one edge to the other. Your second rectangle, just take a guess here, make sure it reaches from one edge to the other as well. And now we'll fix it up. These measurements are all 1/2 inch, then 0.75, and then 1/2 inch. So from this end to here is 0.5. This one's 0.75. And back to 0.5 again. And we'll do one last extrusion of both of these at the same time. And these are a 1/2 inch. And this one is finished. Okay, on to 18. Start a new part studio. Rename it. Number 18. Number 18 is, all right, we have a few different problems to solve here. We'll start with the lowest piece down at the bottom. You know what, why don't we draw the end of it down here? We'll do this little cutout right there. Looks like a dovetail joint if you were into cabinet making. And then later we'll come back and draw this up in this area up here and make that happen. Okay, so let's draw ourselves a 1.5 by 0.5 rectangle, and then we'll come back and do the dovetail. All right, so let's do this on the right side together. So draw a rectangle. Let's make that 1.5. By 1/2. All right, so then next we're going to draw. All right, so we're going to be doing 18 here. We're going to be starting over in this area about 1/3 of the way in. All right, so we're not going to draw the angle right away. We're going to draw straight up and straight over. And we'll slant this. Same thing over here. Pick a spot right on the edge. Make sure it lines up with this one so these lock together. Draw over and slant it back. All right, let's dimension those. So this vertical line, this is 0.25. Up. These are going to be 0.125 over 0.125. Enter. All right, so now we have this angle locked in here. Okay, let's get our end measurements from here to make sure you pick exactly on the end point. So I'm measuring from this line to this dot, basically is what I'm saying. Make that 0.5. Same thing over here, pick the end line, then pick this end point, pull it down, change that to be 0.5. Right there. Okay, we are now going to delete just these two inner lines of the triangles, leaving the important lines left over. So I'm selecting these and I'm hitting the delete key on the keyboard. Does that look right? I think it's right. All right, and let's connect the dots. This should just be 0.75 if our numbers, yep, it is. Okay, so I know it's correct there without even measuring that. All right, let's finish that sketch. Tilt it, and we're going to be extruding this chunk. It looks like 3.5. Extrude 0.75. I'm sorry, not 0.75, but 3.5. 3.5, enter. Okay, so the lower part is done. All right, now for the upper parts. All right, we are going to be drawing a rectangle. This thing is going to be 1.5 tall And how wide is this? So 1.5 plus 1.25, so I see 2.75. Let's see. So I see this being 0.38 tall by looks like 2.75 long. All right, so let's sketch here on the top surface. Draw this rectangle with me. All right, we have to do a little bit of figuring here. There's they're not giving us these measurements real easily. So 3.5 minus this whole thing is 2.75. So there's 3/4 of an inch available total for these two. So we have to take half of 3/4, which is 0.38 right there. So if you would measure from the end line to this line, 0.38. Your spacing, do the same on the other end. 0.38. Okay, and now for the other dimension, this thing's 1.5, and there's 0.75 here as well, so 0.38. So yeah, it's 0.38 all the way around, it looks like. It'd be really nice if they just said that on the directions, but sometimes they make you do a little bit of math to figure it out. All right, and let's stand this up here. So this thing extrudes up 1.5. All right, and now we have some cutting out to do. All right, our last sketch is going to be on this face. We're going to cut out both these triangles right here and this rectangle in the middle to get our final result. So I see a 1/2 inch this way and all the way down. Another rectangle, 0.63 by 1. All right. Okay, so we're sketching, and let's use the line tool. Start on this upper edge, click on the edge, and make sure you go to the corner. So we have one surface here, pressing the ESC escape key in the upper left corner of my keyboard. I'm now going to turn on the line tool again, start over here, draw back like that, ESC, use the rectangle tool to draw this in the middle, something like that. And now we will dimension these accordingly. So from this end line to this end point, that is 0.5. Okay, do the same thing on the right end. 0.5. And from this endpoint to that endpoint right there, that needs to be 0.63. Same with the other one, endpoint, 0.63. And it is 1 inch tall. 1, enter, and the 1/2 inch in the middle is already done. There's no need to dimension that. All right, let's finish this thing off. Finish your sketch, tilt it, and let's extrude, remove the two triangles and the rectangle in the middle right there. Okay, well, that's the end of number 18. And our final problem, number 19. Rename it to be 19. All right, number 19, your final problem. Okay, we've got a chunk of material here. We could draw a rectangle and cut out the arc, and then come back and cut these triangles out. I've seen people just do the lower part and then add a triangle on the top before. I'm going to go with drawing this dark end. I'm going to draw all of this right here. It's 2 inches wide by 1.5 tall. Right there. Let's do that in the front view. So rectangle, 2 inches by 1.5. So there's 2 by 1.5. Let's draw either a circle or an arc. I'm going to do a circle this time. The circle will start at the center point, that bottom edge, right there, and let's dimension that thing. Radius 0.63. That's 5/8 of an inch. So if you double that, it's 1 1/4. So 1.25. Okay. And let's extrude. So finish your sketch, extrude, and we are going 3 inches long. And finally, we've got to cut out the 2 triangles. So sketch on the top surface. And let's go from this corner to find the midpoint of that one, and from that midpoint, it's always weird, sometimes it switches to an arc here. So line tool from that midpoint to that corner, finish sketch, extrude, remove both this and this. Okay, and our distance here looks like that's a difference of 0.5 between these two, so that would be my distance down, 0.5, enter, and there it is. So number 19 is completely done. All right, to finish this thing off, we're going to do one last assembly, and we're going to stick all of these parts in order. We're going to insert it, so make sure you've got an assembly tab, and I'm going to have you take one picture of all of your work. And if you could possibly put these in order, that would be the best. So number 1, number 2, number 3, oops, number 3, number 4. You could do them in rows here too, if that's easier. Number 5, number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 is your assembly. You've got to find that. So you might have to go over to the assemblies area over here. Grab 15. 15 is all of them put together. Back to Part Studios. 16, 17, 18, and 19. All right, and finish that, and take a picture. Take a picture of your work right there so I can see all of them in one shot. You'll be submitting this one picture for credit. And that's the end.